Hiya, hiya, hiya. I'm Eshkalar, the most greatest Canadian wizard, and I don't have much to say about certain topics, but others I am the reigning expert, and this is one of those. So today I'm going to give you a little bit of background on the most important part of mything persons, the ability to use powers that affect things beyond the reach of your body. The Japanese call it Chikara, power, Chikara. The Chinese also call it Chi, I think, or Ki. And other nations call it various things, other cultures call it various things. The idea is that your, using a poetic allusion here, your force of personality can affect things beyond the reach of your hands. Imagine that. Wow. Which is literally the exact idea of throwing a fireball, throwing a lightning bolt, right? Reading somebody's mind. Whoa, 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 whoa. Oh my gosh. You do? I'm going to go to your house and get that gold. you know, and I'm going to talk about today why we don't see that in our world. We hear about it. The movies are all full of it, but movies lie. You don't know that. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Anytime you watch a movie about Santa Claus and the elves, you get a clue that the movies lie. Because they do. There's no Santa Claus. There are no elves in Santa's workshop. That's all in a different dimension. I've talked about it before. It's the North Pole megapolis. And you can't get there unless you know how. Unless you can find the barber pole and touch it. And that like sends you through to the other continuum. And you guys can't do that. So you'll never find Santa Claus. There will never be a real Santa Claus in your world because you can't reach his pocket dimension. He can't reach yours. There's not enough magic here. And that's the important part about ki and ki powers and mental powers and all that, is that we do not have a continuum that is conducive to those things. You see, there is a 27th quantum field that's called the standing magical field. And its gauge particle is the Kel. And Kels are particles that we don't have in our universe. They are used as binding energies for larger nucleons than the ones our universal laws allow. So there are elements that you will never see in our continuum here. Deminsk, Hecatium, right? You'll never see them, Ephiodium. You'll never see them here. And so the things that we talk about that have to do with these things will never manifest here. And that's a thing. It's a real, real thing. There is no magic here. The 26th, I think it's 26th standing, the 26th quantum field is the standing magical field. 26 or 27, I forget. And that magical field, which would exist in our continuum if there were super elements, nucleon counts in the 400s and 600s, if there were super elements still here, and they were very unstable, breaking down into more familiar elements, they would be releasing Kells as part of this binding energy release that every unstable nucleus uh, uh, releases when it breaks apart. So when uranium becomes hafnium and barium or whatever it does, it breaks down, it releases a certain amount of energy that's called its binding energy. The stuff that was holding it together has now been released. Now, and those binding energies are released in the forms of mesons and neutrinos and photons. Well, for these bigger elements that used to exist but don't anymore, some of that binding energy for the larger nucleons that couldn't otherwise exist in our continuum today was expressed in Kells as gauge particles standing magic field. When you break those nuclei apart, the binding energies are released, and some of them are the more familiar ones, and the components of it, the big chunks of the nucleus, we'd identify uranium, hafnium, barium, whatever, lead, bismuth. But the energy that's released, the binding energy released, some of that is released in these Kells. These Kells form a standing magical field, which I believe is the 26th or 27th quantum field. And if there are no super elements, these large nucleon elements, anymore in your continuum, because they all broke down years ago, right, into more familiar items, more familiar fragments, then there's no way you could express standing magical field. There are no longer any Kells. There's a no gauge particle for the standing magical field. And all that energy's been spent long ago. It's gone. So, we don't have magic in our universe here. There was magic in Patchworld. There was magic in the Westermark because those were younger universes. And they still had plenty of those super elements that have nucleon counts in the 400s and 600s, that whose extra binding energy was Kells, was Kell energy, which you don't have here anymore, so we can't find giant nuclei like that anymore. We can't produce them in a lab either, because we cannot produce the Kells to give them binding energies beyond what we consider to be the purely natural. So, because we don't have Kells, we don't have a standing magical field here, no magic can be done in our continuum. So you can't throw a fireball, you can't throw a lightning bolt, right? You can't turn rock to mud, stand here and throw in a spell far away from your house. Now you could do things, if you had a machine in your hand, you could extend that machine to do something and affect the world around you. But we're not talking about using machines. We're talking about bare hands, utilizing spells, utilizing chi, utilizing chikara, utilizing ki, utilizing personal force, animal magnetism. Go, Charles Mesmer. You jerk. So anyway, and so we cannot throw fireballs and lightning bolts and use telecommunications that aren't involving technology, which we have instead of magic. We can now affect things beyond our reach by using machines and electric wires and technology. Back in the Westermark, we did all that stuff using magic. We could create connections. I could create a connection between myself and that stool over there and pull the stool to me just using a thing called telekinesis. Right. Using the standing magical field to do work. Since we don't have a standing magical field here, you can't use it to do work. And any effect that you get in the universe is work. So when I say I am throwing a lightning bolt, that means I'm doing work in the real universe. I'm taking energy from somewhere, spending it somehow, randomizing some of it as heat, enthalpy, entropy, whatever you want to look at, right? Distributing the energy of the balance of the universe a little more evenly, which is what law is all about. That's why I hate law. It makes everything dull, boring, and dead. Only chaos has life and creativity. But the problem is that without technology, we can't throw a lightning bolt or a fireball. We can make the illusion of it. Yeah, illusionists, they suck. But we can't do it for real. And that leads me back to the idea of chi or chikara, right, or ki, that you could spin around on your abuser, go like, raw, and they would feel the force of your personality, it would back off, maybe run away, right? That's what chi is, that's what chikara is, that's what ki is the quantification of personal force into a real power that you can do work in the real world with. Wow, would that be cool? But it doesn't happen. I'll tell you the closest I have come to seeing two species interact in a way that made me wonder if nonverbal communication was possible between different species. And I mean, other than aggression and cowardice, other than attacking and defending or running away, other than those, your food. I'm not food. That's a basic paradigm. Yes, you are. The strong survive. So, to watch that take place in a situation that wasn't a predator-prey relationship or a intra-specific aggression moment where you don't like the zebras because you just don't like zebras, you push them away, right? You don't want to eat them. You're an elephant. You don't want to eat them, but you don't want zebras around you. You know, you don't want them kicking your kids, whatever. So, the only time I've ever seen this, read of it, heard of it happening, it wasn't us that did it. It was an elephant. See, elephants have a fairly advanced communication between them. I don't mean they speak words, and if they do, I'm sorry, but I don't know enough to say that. But I do know that elephant pods can communicate infrasonically, sounds so low pitched that we can't hear them, vibrations through the earth, dozens of miles away. Literally, like in the movies, the guy leans down, listens to the rail, ears to the rails. Elephants literally do that through their feet. How about that? Is that cool or what? Blue whales communicate over hundreds, maybe thousands of miles by making infrasonic waves. In other words, too low pitched for us to hear. But they hear them. There's another blue whale over there. Time to mate. So, those are communications that take place within species. That blue whale knows why he's making that noise. That other blue whale knows what that noise means. We don't know why the whale's making that noise, we assume. And we don't know what communication is being made to the other whale, if any. Maybe bird songs are just bird songs. I'm alive, I'm alive, I'm alive. This is how I do it. I'm alive. All instinct, right? Maybe it's more advanced. Maybe elephants communicate more advanced, in a more advanced fashion than we understand. Perhaps some of elephant communication is nonverbal and infrasonic. We don't hear it, so we don't know it's taking place. As though a guy was over there on a walkie-talkie, and a guy was over there on a walkie-talkie, and we could see them talking to each other, but we knew they couldn't hear each other. What is that? Magic? Telepathy? Chi? Chikara? Well, that's a form of it. Because the idea behind force of personality, chi, ki, chikara, is that you can marshal a force within yourself or around yourself that you can use to project across the gap between yourself and a potential friend, enemy, or other object or creature to interact with. Our universe, as far as we know it, and our scientists only know about 5%, so there's a great deal of slush in there that they don't know about after they told us, oh, we know everything. Look at that, dark energy, dark matter. Oh, yeah, but we know what their effect is. Yeah. You can look at a kid and you can see the bruises on him, but it takes an awful lot of wisdom to recognize which family member they're coming from, doesn't it? Yeah. And that's what's happening in the universe. We don't know. We only know 5% of stuff. The luminous matter we have some clue about because we research that heavily and we build mathematical models based on ideas about it, which may or may not be bankrupt by now. But there's nothing that allows me to use just my thoughts or just making some passes in the air or speaking some words to create a fireball without technological assistance. Now, you could say that knowledge is power, and that if you have enough knowledge, you literally can move your hand and have something happen, because you can push that button, that crane lowers and picks something up. And that's exactly what magic and chi and chikara do in the myths, in your own ideas. They're exactly like having electric lines between you and the object, right? A motor over there, a servo, some kind that makes that thing go up, go down, throw a fireball made out of propane and wind, But we can't do it without all that apparatus. And without all that apparatus, doing that is what we would call chikara, chi, ki, inner force. Force of personality, animal magnetism. But none of those things exist. Here's what happens. You got your lion. He's coming at you, right? He's like, rah, fresh human entrails. I never tried them before, but I'm sure they're good, right? And you're doing a couple things. You're trying to get your rifle up there, and you're trying to aim your rifle. And you're also discovering the pea is warm, and well, that's all happening at the same time. This lion's coming at you, and you shoot and you miss, and the lion's like, and you go like, rah, right at the last instant, and the lion goes, whoa, what the? Okay, whack, and he kills you. Okay. That moment where the lion pauses is the thing that people call animal magnetism, the thing that people call chi, chikara, ki, the force of personality the poets talk about. That's all that is. And what that has to do with, that's a very simple to understand mechanism. when a predator, and sometimes non-predators, is faced with a novel situation, they react by pausing in their aggressive attack. What? What? And then they will judge the situation again and launch a new attack if they're predators, or run away if they're prey animals. So, or kick you if they're zebras, because they don't care about predator or prey. They just want to kick things. It's a true story. Zebras are striped horses from hell. Same as ostriches are the meanest bird ever when they're nesting. There's a story in that. Google Johnny Cash and the ostrich and prepare to be amused, amazed, and to appreciate having learned to read. Because you can't find it on a recording or a video anywhere. Suffer. I had to read all those books to learn magic. Oh, God, it took me forever. So anyway, and now I'm in a continuum with no magic in it. We don't have a standing magical field. We don't have the 26th or 27th quantum field here, because the elements that released that kind of energy as binding energies when they broke down are no longer here in our universe. Our universe is too old. All those elements have broke down into lesser byproducts since then. Uranium, hafnium, neptunium, all that stuff. And then it breaks down in turn until it becomes uranium, uranium-240, which is like still just as deadly and pyrophoric as uranium is, but it's not radioactive anymore, not the same way. That's what we call DU. It's still uranium, and it's still somewhat active, but it is a lot less active and will not spontaneously burst into, try to throw itself apart. It will burn because uranium is pyrophoric. It's bad stuff, really bad, hugely poisonous, most poisonous stuff there is, more poisonous than chugging nicotine. So, more poisonous than having 7 cobras bite you at the same time per unit of material. Oh my! So anyway, getting back to the main topic, which is I can't throw a fireball. I know all the ways to throw a fireball according to my wizardry. I know what mind state to be in. I know what target words and gestures put me in that mind state at that instant, so the power flows so that the wizard's mind forms a lens through which energy from the standing magical field flows to do work in the world. I've talked about this in many videos, so you can go look for them. I did On the Nature of Magic, a Brief History of Magic. I have several videos on this. So there is no way to do that here in this world. You can't, without technology creating the bridge, you can't just turn your mind into a lens through which energy from outside you is formed and focused and made to do work in your world. We don't have that here unless you use technology or trickery, which is what magic is in this world. It's all trickery. Where I come from, you didn't like somebody and you threw a fireball at them, they burned to death unless they knew a counterspell or ran like hell or were in some sort of ensorcelled material that would reflect it or deflect it or reduce its effect. So the idea of chi or ki or chikara is that or personal force, animal magnetism, is that you could do that moment where you go like raw, and you do a ki or a ki up, ha, right? And your opponent is like totally discombobulated. Wow, what the But they never tell you what happens next. What happens next is the opponent goes like, okay, I'm all right, now I'll kill you. Or the lion will halt, and my trails is still there. You ain't gonna stop me by yelling at me, dude. Animals make noises all the time. You just surprised me for a second. And that's what somebody somewhere turned into the idea of ki, that natural reaction that animals have to being surprised. And if you could master the art of creating surprise in any opponent, including animals like crocodiles and cobras and dinosaurs, right? And angry ostriches think you're messing with their eggs. If you can do that, then you're a wizard. You're a wizard in this world. And I'm not even a wizard in this world. I was a wizard. I mean, one of the greatest wizards of all time. I'm the one that powered the wards of Elysium. It's a big deal. Read Patchwork. So anyway, so there is no power that leaves your hand. There is no power that leaves your hand unless you're holding the gun or a button, with a wire. Or maybe a radio, right? Invisible waves come through the air between somebody else and you, and you're being influenced by them. That's as close as we get to telepathy, and it's pretty close to telepathic projection, where you force a person to believe things they wouldn't believe otherwise by magic. That's what the radio and the internet are for, and television especially. Television is a great melter of minds, and I'm sorry for that, because I know you're all desperate for entertainment. You want something, and television is just feeding you lies, because it wants you to buy sponsored products. And sponsored products, pardon me for saying this, are all crap. If you weren't like in a titillated state when you were watching these advertisements, you would be like, this is crap. Why would I want to buy a vacuum cleaner to suck the air out of clothes so I can put more clothes I'll never wear in my closet? What's that? So, well, it's 3 easy payments, $38.99. You can almost afford that, right? If you're not snorting coke. But if you're snorting coke, you don't have any money for anything else. You strip down your needs to the universe to say, like, no, that white powder, that pink flake, that's all I care about now. Everything else is just on the way to getting some of that in my nose, in my head, in my arm, somewhere, you know. So anyway, in my lungs. There is no Chikara. There are no personal superpowers in this world that you can project beyond yourself without using technology as a bridge between yourself and the work to be done. There's none of that. And you can't prove it to me. However, I will show you two examples. One in the real world where it really worked, and one that was told to me, anecdotal, you can't trust anecdotal evidence, by a person who doesn't believe in these things. That makes it a little more credible. Ready? Here's the first one. To communicate between another species requires an incredible genius. If a turtle wanted to express something to you, and could, that would be a genius turtle, don't you think? Instead, it's like, well, it either wants fed, or it wants to shit, or it wants me to clean the water. You know what I mean? There's nothing advanced. That turtle wants me to know that underneath its rock there is an ancient balloon. You know, none of that happens. So there's none of that either. Speaking the languages of animals won't educate you. They'll be like, birdie, 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 people. You know, they're not going to be like, oh, well, yes, absolutely. There were 4 people that walked by 6 hours ago, and each of them was wearing a helmet with this device on it. Doesn't happen. Birds aren't thinking like that. Lions aren't thinking like that. They're thinking, oh, that's some fine entrails there, I can tell. You know. So there isn't much you get from the animals if you could speak with them. The only animals you could get something from if you could communicate with them are the more advanced animals, societally wise. Elephants, orcas. They bond in matrilinear societies, and they teach unique feeding strategies to their young based on their situation, based on their matriarch. This is called culture if it's in humans. So there you have the possibility of real communication. You know, you could talk to that orca, and that orca might ask you questions. Hey, why do you people keep smacking into whales? You know, why don't you pay us? We'll like call the whale population. Well, what do we pay you in? Well, now you talk about how animals can communicate, right? We want to be able to fly through the air like birds. Can you do that? Humans probably could. Well, we want you to herd whales for us. Oh, we could do that. Ding, you win. But we don't do that. There is no such telepathy. Now I'm going to express where it really happened somewhere in the world. See, there was this, I think it's in Kenya, there was an elephant observation station, wildlife observation station. They got, you get a tree nearby, a couple trees, you got a little compound, you get ladders up into the trees, and you go up there and you take pictures and you look through your telescopes and you have a lot of fun, separated from the predators, so you don't have to watch them every second, right? You can watch the elephants, and you can watch the yaks, and you can watch the Cape buffalo, and the giraffes running around. You don't have to worry about every second you got like leopard, you know. So, and that's why you have more than one person, by the way, because leopards are really good sneaking up on things. So anyway, there's one of these stations in Kenya, middle of nowhere, in Savannah, and the researchers looking through their binoculars, and this one guy's down on the ground, and he looks and he sees like an elephant walking up to the station. This is rare. If you don't feed animals, they usually leave you alone, unless they want to feed on you, right? So a giraffe has not much reason to come up and bother a bunch of guys standing around a ladder that goes into the trees. He might, but probably not unless he's really bored. Most animals don't care. They'd be like, "Get off of me! Oh, you're not eating my food. We're fine." You know. Eventually, they'll become acclimated to you. Even prairie dogs. You see them climbing over the researcher, climbing over his camera. Meerkats. Ordinarily, they wouldn't let anything come close. But you acclimate the animal long enough to you, and they lose some of their fear of you until they see you kill one. And then they suddenly get it all back. But until then, you're a toy. You're part of the environment. You're no longer an aggressor. Wow, what can we do? Let's taste your hair. Let's lick your eyes. Let's crawl all over you and shit on you. Let's look at your camera. That looks like about $18,000 human money. I think I'm going to carry that off and break it. I'll bet I can break it. And I'm only a meerkat. I bet I can break that camera. I'm laughing about this because I've seen these things happen on videos. I'm putting my own interpretation on it, of course. Now let's talk about what happened to that elephant. Well, doggone, that elephant walked up to that station, and the guys were like freaked. Up the ladder, everybody. If you're up over the elephant, he can't get to you, right? One guy's still on the ground, and he's like walking over to the ladder. "It's okay, I'm just a guy. Don't attack me, Mr. Elephant." And he realized that elephant was just standing there, not aggressive. Young bull, usually when they approach humans, they're aggressive. There's a thing called musth, M-U-S-T-H, that renders a young male elephant intractable due to overdose of testosterone, which might be expressed in definition as aggression, bottled aggression. So young male elephants, you should not mess with them. If they're in this musth state, the back of their legs, their hind legs, look soaked in water. It's testosterone rich exudate, like coming down off them, off their crotch. It's like a lot of testosterone. Human being would die with that level. And that makes these young male elephants, these bulls, very undependable. And they're very violent, and sometimes they just grab you and kill you. So you can't be nice to them without getting used to that particular elephant a long time and knowing its strengths and weaknesses, its personality. How does it react to musth? Because they're complex. I think elephants are people. I think orcas are people too, but we don't understand what people mean yet. So this elephant just standing there looking at that researcher and not making an aggressive move, nothing, just looking. The other researchers, they got their guns loaded up on the tree. They're going to kill that elephant if he gets uppity, because humans, that's what we do. We kill things when they get uppity, like when they're in our way, when we're bored, when we're drunk. It's important stuff in human society. That's how we get ahead. No, it's not. It's childish behavior. But anyway, wait. Alcohol and firearms together are about as dumb as it gets. So you can't say that that's adult behavior unless the adults are acting like children. So anyway, that elephant just stood there looking at that researcher. The researcher's like, that elephant could... I've seen the videos of trainers in zoos being killed by elephants. So you don't have to be able to run down your prey. You just have to be faster than the trainers. Okay, so that's important to know. They say, "Oh, elephants, they don't have a run. They can't run because they don't have an airborne phase in their movement." You don't need an airborne phase in your movement if you're capable of running down your prey. And if your prey is a freaked out trainer, well, then you don't have to be too fast. You can probably catch them in less than a mile. And then bam, 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 this happens. So that's what this researcher's thinking. He's like, "Oh my God, this is my last day. This elephant's got me. And what the hell is that in its head?" So he looked up and here this elephant had a 56 caliber ball from whatever it is, 10 gauge shotgun, elephant rifle, stuck in its forehead. It was still showing silver. And then like this big ridge of flesh trying to heal around it and blood dripping down. And the researcher's like, "Oh my gosh, some poacher tried to kill that elephant for his tusks. And it didn't die. That giant bullet that'd kill any other animal on earth, probably a whale even, just stuck in its big bony skull." And that elephant's probably thinking like, "Mother, son of a, what the, So the researchers talked it over because the elephant's still standing there. And I'm going to make a leap of faith here, right? I'm talking against those things, so take it with a grain of salt. But in my estimation, that elephant came there because it knew that men are the ones that do this, and that men can fix. They fix all kinds of things. They fix fences every day that we break. They fix them. And somebody could fix me. And so that elephant walked up to the place it knew it could find humans. Humans said, don't chase it and try to kill it. Researchers. And stood there thinking, I hope one of these guys is smart enough to realize I need medical attention. Again, this is my anthropomorphizing a wild animal and saying it had human-like thoughts and emotions going through its head at this troublesome time. There's no proof of that except for every behavior that young bull exhibited. It was not acting aggressive. It was not trying to hurt anybody. It was a wild elephant, perfectly capable of tossing your car, like rolling it over, stamping on it until the squishies come out, and then grabbing them and throwing them around, bashing them off the trees. Elephants do that in Africa. It's one of the reasons why Africa is dangerous in those places. So, I find this a good story. That's why I pulled it up. So the researchers finally realized, well, he's just standing there waiting for something, waiting for help, I think. But if we try to help, imagine putting a ladder up in front of a young bull elephant and then getting a crowbar and trying to pry that ball out of its skull. What's it going to interpret that as? Take an awfully advanced animal to let you... Wait, it'd take an awfully advanced me to let doctors come to me if I was that injured and I didn't trust doctors, which I don't, for good reasons. My family has been very badly treated by the medical profession. So, all of my sisters, both my parents, and me. So this is not a single lament. This is a systematic default on the system, a fault of the systems, and the way that people look at the system, and the way the system looks at people as integers and practice for treating rich people rather than individuals that you need to love and care for like they were your own. So anyway, so the researchers couldn't climb up on a ladder and fix that elephant. It'd kill him, right? This is what they think. Doesn't matter how nice that elephant is, how much it suddenly decided to find God or become civilized. I want to live in the humans world because I got this hole in my head. Will you please fix? And now everything will be all right. That's awfully advanced communication for an animal to make to a human being. We certainly couldn't make it to them. So that elephant was smarter than we are, communicating across species lines without touching anything, mind to mind, without body English except for standing still. There's the closest thing I've ever seen to chi, Chikara, or ki, or force of personality, or mesmeric power. That darn elephant was like, I want those guys to know that I'm not aggressive. I want them to know that I think that there could be a positive interaction between us. In my case, that interaction is, can you please get this stupid bolt out of my head? And my trade-off is, I'm going to act perfectly cool around you guys and not kill you, which I'm perfectly capable of. So these guys didn't know what to do. I'm telling more of the story here. It doesn't need to be told. That was the point of the story. This elephant did communicate with people across species barriers, right? Across distance with something that left its body and went to the other person and had an effect. Wow. But that isn't magical powers. It's not force of personality. None of that stuff. It's not ki, it's not chikara. It is intelligence creating a situation where solutions can be found. It's just amazing. That elephant's a genius. I hope he's still alive and he still likes people. So the researchers realized that they weren't going to be able to just stand there and pull a ball out of an elephant's head. So they went out and they got the dart rifle, and the guy with the dart rifle climbed down the ladder, and the elephant watched this whole thing and thought, okay, there's a guy with a rifle. This is not what I want. That's what happened here. So the elephant wasn't sure what to do, and the guy cocked the rifle, took out a dart, put it in, right, aimed it at the elephant. The elephant stood there. Bang. The elephant stood there a little while longer, went down on his front knees, and passed out, right? Because these guys know how to tranquilize. They're using a tranquilizer that's called PCP. Any of you old hippies ever hear of it? Angel dust? That's what PCP is. Angel dust. You just sprinkle it on weed or killer weed, and you get so flogged. So Pavlovian conditioning. That's what drug addiction is. In a certain extent. You become addicted to becoming addicted because of habitual behavior. Habitual behavior is a sort of addiction. So, it gives you rewards in your brain. That's what addiction does. So anyway, so these guys finally darted the elephant. It fell over. They rushed over. They got a vet. They have vets at these stations. And the vet, like, pried the ball out of the elephant's head, cleared the wound with alcohol, put some sulfa on it, bandaged the elephant up. Everybody ran back up the tree. Elephant got up, staggered around, because you do. PCP makes you all, wait, you puke, you poop, it's a tranquilizer. Blah. So, and the elephant finally gets up and shakes off the buzz, because it's a serious buzz. I can promise you that PCP is a serious buzz. And wandered off into the veldt again. So there's a story that that elephant used its force of personality. It communicated with a different species, across species barriers, body English barriers, language barriers. And it said, I'm hurt. Can you fix? And the guys took them a while. They're finally like, yeah, but we have to hurt you more. And we don't know if you'll be cool with that. So they hit him with a dart and he passed on. Now, that elephant came close to using something that leaves the hand, that leaves the body, and goes across space and affects somebody else or something else. He did that, but it was reason, and it was communication across species lines by being patient with the dummies. And he was, until he finally got the point. Genius elephant, probably above any human being for reasoning capacity compared to his situation. Unbelievable. Unbelievable bridge built between two species by this elephant that some other human had tried to kill. Man, that's some serious thinking. Like, those ones kill, these ones don't. I'm going to ask these ones for help. That's some pretty advanced reasoning. That's more advanced reasoning than some of us can do. Look at the streets. So, that's one example where you could use a power that left your body and affect somebody at a distance. But there was no magic involved. There was no chi, Chikara, or ki involved. No magnetic personality, no mesmerism involved. Just one canny elephant. Whew, and some nice guys. Wow. Talk about fitting need with service. So that elephant was smarter than Einstein by a long shot. Smarter than Da Vinci. Whew. Smarter. Da Vinci never figured out a way to communicate with animals. Oppenheimer never did. His way of communicating with animals is to kill us all. I am created Shiva the Destroyer. You self-absorbed little piece of crap, you. You tiny little mind with a mathematical bent, you. Oh. What he basically said was, I am now a god. Oh, he became the first L. Ron Hubbard. Oh, I'm smart. I'm smart. Even if people don't think I'm smart, I'm a god. Oh, I must be really smart. Oh, God. Can a terrible science fiction writer be a god? No. Absolutely not. Are there good science fiction writers out there? Yeah, pick up an Orson Scott Card. Pick up a Mike Resnick. Pick up, well, you guys wouldn't appreciate the old stuff. I would say pick up an E.E. Doc Smith. Or pick up Cordwainer Smith. Oh my gosh. The Under People. The stories are so beautiful. But told from a different time, a different outlook. So anyway, reaching across the ages to affect your mind without touching it. Magic. So anyway, the other example that I can give for this, that's outside of my barrier, that there is no such thing, in this universe, there is in others, younger universes have plenty of magic, but in this universe, the other thing that I know is I have a friend who is a legitimate master of a tactical fighting system. You guys would call him a master of the martial arts, but you don't know what those words mean. And it's okay, you don't have to. I am an expert in the language. You're experts at doing things. big difference between us. And I'm giving you the benefit of my small area of expertise. I hope you will give me the benefit of yours. That's society. So anyway, so this friend of mine, who is legitimately what you would call a martial arts master, I would call him an expert at a tactical fighting system, right? He said, I don't believe in any of that stuff. I don't believe in magic. I don't believe in telepathy. I don't believe in telekinesis. I don't believe in throwing fireballs, lightning bolts. We both agree that if you have a machine that does it and you push a button, that happens. But if you don't have a machinery or any of that infrastructure, it ain't going to happen. And then he said, I want to talk to you about something that I don't understand. It's rare that he ever said that to me because he knows I'm the guy to come to if there's something you don't understand. Because who understands me? Yeah. You guys that think you do? The words burn and out don't apply to me. So, anyway. So he said he saw his master, who is another legitimate, well, he's a tactical fighting arts master, also a superior master, let's call him, because he was part of the school that trained. He and his two brothers were the experts that created an entire field in America, which is a pretty big deal. It's a large thing, lots of dojos, lots of people training. So it must be a big deal. It's even an Olympic sport now. So, yeah. Anyway, so he said he saw his master do something that he can't explain. Eshkalar, what happened here? And I says, well, what was your experience? He says, my master said to me, I can't tell you people certain things that I know, but I know things that you would think of were magic. And my buddy naturally says, what do you mean? Can you give me some kind of, demonstration? Because otherwise it's just words, we know. Words aren't the same as acts. If they were, politicians would be Superman, and they're not. So anyway, not even one with a trading card. So he took one of his students, and he says, watch this. And he took his forearm, and then he took his own hand, and he went, whew, right, down the guy's arm. And a big red welt appeared. And according to my friend, this guy wasn't exerting any unusual force. That is a quantifiable judgment that might or might not be true. For all we know, the guy's a carnival strongman and knows how to do this without looking like he's doing it. But I'd say that's pretty much the story. So that guy said there are things in the universe you don't understand, you white people, and that's what he meant, that we understand, we blank people that have these secrets know. And that is the other closest time I've ever heard to anything like any kind of a psychic power taking place. Any kind of a Chikara power. Any kind of a power that leaves the hand and affects somebody without you generating excessive physical force to do so. And I gotta say that out of these examples, out of all the things that they write about and talk about, the only one I saw that really worked was that poor elephant asking for help. This is your old pal Eshkalar. Dealing a little truth about a college lecture length.